9 years, 262 appearances, 8 Norwich City goals, and Alex Tettey is going to leave the football club at the end of this season. Feels somewhat like an end of an era. We can reminisce about those wonderful strikes, and we will, against Sunderland, the goal against Manchester United, the volley against Preston, the free promotions. There's so much to cram in to, I think, what is undisputably a Norwich City legend. Connor Southwell, joined by Norwegian journalist and Norwich fan Kasper Wikestad. Kasper, how are you first and foremost, and what do you make of this news? Firstly, as a Norwich City fan, because it's Alex Tettey's been a player who's sort of spanned numerous eras at the club, and as Norwich head into the Premier League, he's no longer going to be there.
Yeah, it's not really surprising though, is it? He's just started fully again this season. It's many things that's gone that we can think about that has led to this conclusion that he's quitting after this season. But he's been a kind of a giant in the club for the past 9 years. He's been in the club for the most successful period for the club for the last 25 years. He's been 4 or 5 seasons in the Premier League. The 20 years before he came, they'd just been in Premier League for 2 seasons. So 3 promotions, captain in a lot of games. Of course, scored some beautiful goals, some important goals, and been a real character, I think, in the dressing room too, to keep the team together. He's been doing the dirty works in the hard times, and he's been an important player in the good times.
I think he's the first Norwich City player to get promoted on 3 occasions, which says it all. And like we said right at the start, an absolute legend. So let's start before we kind of reflect on his time at the club by talking about the decision. You mentioned it there, not a huge surprise given maybe the lack of certainly starts that he's had this season. In terms of where Norwich City are going, is this for you the right decision? Given maybe. I think Stuart Webber said that he felt they showed a little bit too much loyalty to those players that helped get them to the Premier League last time. Do you think this is kind of, and we obviously see Mario Vrancic leave as well, is this kind of the end of the sentiment, do you think, these 2 decisions? And I guess the obvious question is it the right time for Alex Tettey to leave Norwich?
Yes, I think so. He's 35 years old. He's experienced a lot, of course. His legs maybe isn't with him as much as they were. He was a player that could cover lots of ground, and maybe he can't do that in the same capacity anymore, and especially not in the Premier League maybe. But I think the few occasions he's played this season, I think it's been good. But of course, you need to take that next step in the Premier League, and of course, you had only skipped this season. It's really the first season since Tettey came in that there's been a better player than him in his position. So that's been a natural phasing out for him, I think. And I think he's still a really, really important figure in the dressing room and for the younger players and for the atmosphere in the dressing room. But of course, when you're in the Premier League, there's a little bit more that you need than just that.
Well, what do you think, in your opinion, he's going to do next? He leaves Norwich City. I know he's spoken about potentially retiring. I know he's obviously spoken about moving, him and his family moving back to Norway. What do you think the next stage is for Alex Tettey? Do you expect him to hang up his boots and move into the coaching sort of area as he's kind of floated in the last 6 months or so? Or do you think there is going to be another club and another move for him?
I saw in the Norwegian media that his home club Rosenborg in Trondheim wants him, and as the coach said, Åge Hareide, he said the former Norwich player actually, Åge Hareide, he said that he was more interested in the person Tettey than in the player Tettey. So to have him as a cover for this season and then maybe work with the youngsters, work in the academy, work as a coach in Trondheim, I think it would be great for Tettey and his family to move back to his hometown, and of course his home club. And he's a person with a lot to offer in every aspect of the game, other than a player too.
In terms of his Norwich City journey, and you mentioned about going into coaching, do you feel that one day, we see this a lot with ex-players, obviously it's been spoken about a lot with Russel Martin now, if he does go down that coaching route, do you think inevitably, not necessarily as a manager, because I think he's been fairly open on the fact that that's not necessarily something he wants to go into, but can you see him coming back to Carrow Road later down the line as a coach, or certainly as an ambassador or something like that?
I hope so, but you have to remember for those players, especially those players who played abroad, that their families have sacrificed a lot to move around with their husbands and their players around Europe. He's played in France, he's played in England. So often when the players retiring, there's a time where family comes first, and maybe family can choose where they're going to live. For example, I think Trondheim is the perfect place for him now. So, but who knows in the future? It would be great to have him back at Carrow Road. I would hope that already from next season that he stayed at Norwich and in a coaching capacity. But I don't think that's going to happen though. But of course, he's a fantastic man, and he has a very good football head too. He's an intelligent man and an intelligent player. So I really think he has a lot to offer as a coach or in an academy and anything like that, because he really has a good football head.
I agree. In terms of his Norwich City legacy, and you're obviously a Norwich fan, so you will know. What do you think Alex Tettey will be remembered for when people look back in 10 years and we speak about Wes Hoolahan and Russel Martin and I suppose John Ruddy maybe to a lesser extent, but when people think about Alex Tettey, where do you think their sort of minds will reach? What do you think they'll remember about him?
He's of course not the same player as Wes Hoolahan, but I think he'll be remembered as effort and skill in a good combination, and a loyal player, loyal to his tasks on the field, loyal to his teammates, loyal to his management team. So loyal to the club and to the game. He's done exactly what the managers has been asking from him in all the 9 years he's been there. He's done exactly what his teammates have expected from him, and he's done a lot of the dirty works. And of course, he's produced some magical moments with some terrific goals. And remember the last promotion, Norwich got a really bad start to the season, and he played his probably his poorest game was against Preston, and then he just comes up with a great goal that secured the first. I think it was the first win of the season too against Preston, and turned that season around, and it ended in promotion. So moments like that, and of course the Sunderland goal will never be forgotten.
In terms of in Norway, how is Alex Tettey viewed? Because as you mentioned there, he's played in France, he's played in England for a long time. Is he someone that really gets spoken about in Norway? And this sort of prospect of him returning to his home country, is that a big thing, I guess, in terms of the football media? How's he kind of viewed?
He's been away for a long time, and of course he quit the national team some years ago. So that's why he's not been that profiled in Norway. Norwich, of course, not the biggest club either. And of course, the last seasons it's been Solskjaer, it's been Erling Haaland and Thunderberg and Joshua King has played in the Premier League. So not that, but when Rosenborg is saying they will want him, it's headlines in Norway, of course. But he's much thought of in Norway, just because the person he is, as I said last time I was on, he's been a great ambassador for Norway in England and in Norwich, I think, and he's of course been a great ambassador for Norwich in Norway. So you can't find a person in Norway who wouldn't speak highly of him.
In terms of great moments, I'm going to flash a picture up now. This is the moment, isn't it? That goal against Sunderland that we spoke about, when the ball was flying towards him, and everyone in the stadium probably thought, "Don't, whatever you do not shoot," and he did, and it was one of those occasions where it flew into the back of the net, probably maybe beyond Johnny Howson's a couple of years ago in Nottingham Forest, maybe one of the best goals in the last decade that we've seen at Carrow Road.
Yeah, when he was a youngster in Rosenborg, he had a couple of those, and he described them, how you score those goals in FIFA on PlayStation. So he described them with the circle, and then you just push. So he got a little bit famous for that as a youngster in Rosenborg. So that was the first thing I thought about when he scored that goal. That how he would describe it as a FIFA player on PlayStation. And it was quite a PlayStation goal, though.
No, it was a wonderful strike. I think we've actually got a picture of the celebration on here as well. I mean, the disbelief on everyone's face, I think, when that flew in was quite incredible. But of course, you mentioned that Preston goal. He's kind of become renowned for that, hasn't he? Not a scorer of many goals, but when he does score, they tend to be from outside the area. I think someone told me the other day he's only one of his 8 Norwich City goals have come from inside the area. So that goes to show maybe the sort of player he is in terms of he's not certainly not an attacking player, but someone who's not afraid to pull the trigger. And I remember him saying before that when the Carrow Road sort of crowd were urging him to shoot, that they became very hard to ignore. But they're the sort of midfielders we like, isn't it? The ones that aren't afraid to have a shot from range.
Yeah, I think he actually scored in his debut in the League Cup against Doncaster too. Yeah, so he presented himself with a goal. And yeah, as I said, he has the occasional long shot goal. Always had in Norway and on the national team and for Norwich. So quite a flair player for a defensive midfielder to just drag that up of the hat once in a while.
Absolutely.
And he's a great guy. He's a great guy and a great footballer. That I think that's how we'll be remembered in Norway and in Norwich. I can tell a little bit of story. First time I really met him, I'd met him a couple of times as a journalist, but I was commentating at Carrow Road for the Norwegian TV against Sunderland. Not that game against Sunderland, but the other one. And that was the first time I really met Alexander Tettey. And after the interview, we were just Norwegians abroad talking a little bit. And I told him I was a Norwich fan, and he said, "No way, are you?" And I said, "Yeah, just hold on." And then he just disappeared, and he came back a little minute later with his sweaty kit in a shirt in his hand. I said, "Yeah, you have to wash it, but here we go." And that's Alexander Tettey, just a great guy.
Oh, what a story that is! I'll tell you a story more recently. I think it was actually the day that his release got announced. I was driving. I was taking my other half to work, and I stopped at a zebra crossing, as you do, to let sort of a child on a bike and someone else on a bike across the road. And I almost did a double take when I saw that the person on the back bike was actually Alex Tettey, who's taken his child to school on a bike, which isn't necessarily something that you see from footballers. And we're seeing it now, and there's been a lot of talk about potentially him being remembered with a testimonial or some sort of celebration. And I think he's always been very clear, actually, no, I'd rather sort of leave through the back door and leave very quietly. Does that kind of sum up him as a person, someone who's maybe very humble, doesn't really like the limelight, and that kind of breaks the mold, doesn't it, for a modern footballer, I suppose?
Yeah, he's humble and he's honest, and I think you could see that on and off the field from Alexander Tettey, that he's always this humble, honest, hardworking guy, and maybe that's what brought him this fantastic career that he's had. I think he had the most appearances from an overseas player in the Norwich history. One of the players with most Premier League games in Norway's history. So he's making his mark wherever he is. And that's a testament to how great a guy and great a player he was.
I suppose, what is the reason that you think he's been able to? We've seen plenty of players, particularly when maybe the change as Stuart Webber and Daniel Farke arrived, and they decided to almost sell or get rid of those players that were maybe a bit more experienced, had been at the club a long time. Obviously, when Daniel Farke first came in, Alex Tettey found it very difficult to break into the team. So what is it about him as both a person and a player that's allowed him to kind of prove himself, I guess, to different managers at different times, and prove that whether Norwich are playing with not that they necessarily have, but he can play a possession-based style of play under Daniel Farke, for example, but then also a very solid defensive, completely different style of play under Chris Hughton. What is it that's been able to sort of make him survive throughout those eras, do you think?
Yeah, I think Chris Hughton was the only manager that decided he bought him, of course. So I'm gonna use him. The other managers, they started off with, okay, may Alexander Tettey, I don't think I need him, and then I've seen the results not gone their way, and with Tettey in, the results had turned. The 4-0 game loss against the Millwall was the catalyst, wasn't it, that brought him back into the team. So he's better than his rumor. He's better than when you would think with the ball, and he's great without it. And that's a really, really important skill to have in any team. And you see it with the best ball playing teams, Manchester City or Barcelona, whatever. You need the ball winners, to the defensive midfielders to win the ball back, to keep the team tight. And Tettey has all those qualities and done them brilliantly in Norwich.
I'm going to bring up another moment now. There's this goal at Old Trafford,
Yeah.
which you may remember. He's a Man United fan, isn't he? I think he said that before. And
he's a Norwich fan, though.
Yeah, I saw a quote from him about that game, and he said, when I scored, I was a little bit, because Norwich fans were actually sort of in the corner that this photo's taken in, and he actually ran to the opposite corner, didn't he? And he said he didn't quite know what to do when he'd scored that goal. But what a game that was, and I guess for him personally, that must have been an incredible moment.
Yeah, it was a fantastic game. It was a fantastic game for the Norwich supporters too. Alex Neil, the manager, and you got to sing "One Sir Alex" at Old Trafford, and you got to sing "We Came for Our Scarves" with the green and yellow and everything. So that was really a magical night for Norwich and for Norwich City fans, and of course with that goal from Tettey, and that made quite a stir in Norway. Of course, we have a very big Manchester United contingent in Norway, so that really made the headlines for Tettey and for Norwich in the Norwegian media. Maybe the most for Norwich the last 10 years. That game really people really noticed.
Yeah, I can imagine Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's done a lot for Manchester United in Norway, hasn't he? Most probably. And then, of course, we've got Wembley, and he was a key member again of that side that won that day, and of that run, as you mentioned there, that Alex Neil that actually got them to the Premier League. And this kind of shows what you said there. He almost enables, doesn't he, other players and those ball playing players. He adds that reliability, and he's just very solid and very consistent with his performances every week. I think he's probably one of those players, isn't he, that if you're playing alongside him, maybe if you watch him, it can go under the radar, or you can maybe not necessarily understand what he contributes to a side. But if you're playing right alongside him, you will be very grateful to have someone like Alex Tettey next to you. Yeah,
I was at that game. I commentated that game for Norwegian TV. So that was a great moment for me, obviously, but also for Tettey. And I had a long interview with him after the game, and he was full of praise for Alex Neil and for the club and for the team. And of course, once again, they didn't really make it in the Premier League. They were close, but to get to that point under Alex Neil, things were going a little bit halfway before he got hired. So that was a great achievement for Tettey and for Norwich, and of course to win at Wembley as a Norwegian guy coming over to England to win a final at Wembley. That's really, really huge.
Yeah, it's incredible. Have you got a favourite? I mean, we've been through a few of his moments there. We could pick, 262 almost of them, maybe 61 after that game against Preston, which he said wasn't particularly great. But have you got a favourite Alex Tettey moment in a Norwich shirt? Maybe one that we've not spoken about there?
Yeah, the Wembley game, of course, is a standout for me. I got seriously ill last year, and I was talking about that on a TV show here in Norway, where I got messages from the dressing room from the Norwich City players that he had gone around in the dressing room filming players, wishing me well and to get well soon. And that's also a testament of how fantastic guy Alexander is, and he's always thinking about other people, and he's doing good things, and so I really appreciated that on a personal level. For me as a guy who I was at Carrow Road first time in the late 80s and followed the club in over 30 years from Norway. So that really meant a lot for me, and for Alexander, I think that's just natural for him to do things like that. So a fantastic guy and a fantastic footballer for me. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a lovely anecdote to end it on. Alex Tettey, what a Norwich City player, undoubtedly a Norwich City legend. And I think wherever he goes, Kasper, he's going to have a little bit of yellow and green in him, isn't he? I think that's it now. I know he said he's a Manchester United, a boyhood Manchester United fan. Surely he's a Norwich fan now as well, right?
Yeah, he's a Norwich fan. I think you can bet on it that Norwich definitely comes first for him. Yeah.
Lovely stuff. Kasper, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate your time. Let us know down below, wherever you're watching this, if you've got any nice anecdotes or stories about Alex Tettey, what your favourite moment of him in yellow and green is. I think as we spoke about right at the start, probably the right time for him to leave the football club, but always sad when a long-serving player, someone who's regarded as a legend, leaves the club. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again very, very soon.